So, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Encore. I am here as usual with Wes.
Hello.
Say hi, Wes. And we're going to discuss everything that we've seen from the release of the ninth edition rulebook, alongside some of the other changes that we've been seeing, including the FAQ and the points changes to the Harlequins.
And man, there's been a lot of stuff, hasn't there?
Yeah, quite a lot of stuff. Not all of it amazing, but quite a lot of stuff. So first of all, Wes, what are your main impressions of what we've seen of the ninth edition rulebook?
The rulebook itself, I was very lucky to get a copy of it, and do you know what? I really like it. The rules themselves have been expanded quite a lot, but the nice thing about it is there's bullet points, so you don't even have to read the rules. You just read through the bullet points, and it just makes it really quick and easy to learn, actually. And then if you're not sure of the bullet point, you can just go back and read the text above it. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. It's such a nice way of like easing your way into the game, and then for tournament players of sorting out those nitty arguments that you have that really stop gameplay otherwise. I think it's a very good move from them. Nice format.
Yeah, they've really they've made a massive effort there to stop those arguments at tournaments, etc. And they've done a great job.
It's only good for the game. I mean, there have definitely been examples of some toxic gameplay and all the rest of it. It's an overused word, but it's true. Unfortunately, the worst thing that can happen to you in any game is when you end up having this argument for 15 minutes about the rules. Here, nice, clear, simple. We know what it is and how it's supposed to be.
And they've done just that. And the nice addition as well, I thought as well, is the line of sight blocking you get at terrain now. Which some people say it's not as good when it was ITC, but actually I've found it pretty good in the games that I've played, so I can't complain about that at all.
No, I think it's very nice to see some diversity in the terrain rules as well. I like the idea that they put in the dense cover. Doesn't always do a huge amount for us, but just these different sort of ways in which you can tactically explore and manipulate the battlefield are definitely good things for the game.
And one thing, it's not necessarily a competitive thing, I'm really interested in the Crusade, actually. That stuff looks really quite interesting. Especially for people starting out, Harlequins especially it can be a bit of a slog to paint Harlequins. So having something that allows you to just build up something progressively, build up your narrative as you're doing it as well. Crusade's fantastic for that. I think they've done a great job with that system.
I'm really looking forward to that as well. I think our local game store is talking about doing a short Crusade campaign, which will be really fun. I think there aren't that many competitive players in this town, but there are a couple which I will be playing just to get some practice in, but I think most of them are narrative, and that's what they're excited about as well.
Yeah, it's great. There's something for everybody in this book, and it's by far and away the best rule set I think Games Workshop produced. Very, very good.
I definitely think it has some real clout, doesn't it, actually, because it fixes a lot of those and streamlines a lot of those little issues that we had before. And I do like the fact that they're trying to make it a sort of a smaller, quicker game, but still with the complexities and adding areas that add complexity to your tactics, but then taking away other areas. For example, Overwatch being a stratagem now for everyone except Tau, and just giving those sorts of a bit of give and a bit of take. Do you know what I mean? In terms of the amount.
Accessibility seems to be a huge thing with this. They've made the table smaller. They've made it more appropriate for fitting on a dining room table, because nobody, unless you are a stately lord, has a 6x4 table in their dining room. So so it's more accessible that way. They've made the armies smaller for 2,000 points as well, so you need less models to get into it as well, and getting rid of lots of re-rolls, etc. as well, which weren't really necessary. Things like Overwatch as well. Again, you spend how many proportion of the game re-rolling Overwatch rolls for no benefit, really. I think it's some really nice touches.
Absolutely. I also think, as you're saying, it's really accessible to a lot of different people, smaller gameplay size, and having a smaller army just at 2,000 points, I just feel like it is a bit more 40k. Do you know what I mean? It was starting to get a bit more bloated. It was like when you moved from 7th edition fantasy to 8th edition fantasy, and it was like you had half a unit of everything because it was more elite before. Suddenly you were seeing these massive wedges of things. I felt a little bit like that, particularly after the chapter approved, where all the points dropped. You kind of went, okay, as a Harlequins player, you went, great, I can actually afford a brigade or a double brigade. Well, I never would have done that before. But on the other hand, it was always just like, oh god, but I've got a transport. masses of models, even for a Harlequins player, where it's a pretty elite army.
Yeah, it's crazy times, isn't it? And I've always preferred like the 15 to 1750 point mark, because you have to make really harsh choices in your list building. You can't just build this core block of just mega death or mega survivability. You have to make big choices about how your army list goes to that level.
Yeah, and it feels like there's a bit more of that coming back as well with this edition. That it's, a lot of people are sort of talking online, going, "Oh no, my list is dead." It's not dead, mate. You just have to take a couple of things out. Yeah, like it was fun having your 9 Talos before and your massive unit of grotesques alongside your ranks. Now, let's tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, and smaller games and stuff. It just means you get more games in, and that's a win for everybody, really, isn't it? As I'm getting to adult life, I know that sitting down and being able to play 4 or 5 times a week, those days are gone. But having smaller games means that when I do get to play, I can play 2 games in an evening rather than just 1.
Absolutely. Now, one thing that we've been looking at now that we've got all the rules as well is we saw quite a lot of to and fro in terms of things like what was given to melee armies to benefit them, what was taken away from melee armies to kind of nerf them. And a lot of people have been talking a little bit about this as a kind of a balance issue, where a lot of people are saying, oh, 9th edition is going to be the melee heavy edition, and then a lot of people are saying yes, but they nerf melee in such ways, like things like the coherency. We've got things like no more multi-charging, but we have a smaller table. How have you found that in your games so far, in terms of like how does it round off?
So I've not actually made it into melee in my game so far, which is just a little bit unfortunate. Well, kind of, but I haven't found that the shooting melee thing's been that much of it. I think actually resilience has probably been the biggest things of the missions in this 9th edition. Actually, resilience,
which is our biggest worry at this point.
Between your toughness 3, 1 wound space elf with a
exactly 4 plus in bun save ain't gonna save you for long, mate. No. And unfortunately, that is at the moment what we're looking at, isn't it? That a lot of the missions are based around the idea that you need to survive until the turn in which you can then score those points. Right? And that for us is a tough one.
It really is. But kind of back to your original question, I always thought that combat was the strongest thing anyway out of shooting combat. It's just the one that requires the highest skill set to actually make the difference in. And sometimes it's a bigger risk reward with it. But actually, I think you can do a lot more damage in melee than you can in shooting.
Well, I always took my Frozen Stars for that very reason, because you get that one unit in there, and people sort of go, oh, but why aren't you taking fusion boats? It's like
you're increasing your effectiveness of your trooper by 25%.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, we've got 4 attacks each. 5 attacks if we take Frozen Stars on the charge. Why not use that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Might as well play to strength.
So I think going through, I think once we get through the annoyances of the early days, I think combat will be stronger than it was in the previous edition, because we're not facing so much Overwatch. We can get behind terrain, we can assault through terrain, and there are ways that we can still pin people in as well. So I think combat's going to be okay. It's going to take a bit of adjusting, but I think it'll be okay. It's not the massive.
So thinking about.
So I was going to say, I don't think it's the massive swing that they kind of hyped it up to being. It made it sound very much initially that 9th edition was going to be like a combat version of for 40k. I don't think it's that way. I think it's just a slight nudge towards combat, but I think it's still predominantly a shooting game.
Yeah, I'd agree with you from what I've seen so far. I haven't actually managed to get around to a 9th edition game yet. I will be starting that hopefully next week with a new opponent. Drakari player, so it's going to be fast space elf versus fast space elf, so we'll see how that goes. But that should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. But I think as a whole, from what I've seen, there does seem to be a balance. It's always been a shooting game. It's always been about that, whilst the fantasy version has always been a melee game. But I think there's enough of a balance now between the two that we're finding at least new avenues in which we can exploit both sides of that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So, moving on to the points and the FAQ.
Yes.
This is where I think you and I are. Well, we see eye to eye in a mutual, let's call it mild disappointment.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I generally like to be really positive about games work because I am a massive fanboy and I don't hide that fact. I spend a lot of my time doing. I kind of think that my gut feeling is the points in the FAQs are just a bit of a miss. That's putting it mildly. I think the points adjustments seem just a little bit off in places and haven't really been thought through.
A little bit.
So this is me being fanboy and really underplaying it. They have been. Okay, so
no,
the points should have gone up by 20%. That's kind of what we've been told by Games Workshop. So where we were at the end of chapter Prove 19, do you know what? I thought on the whole that was pretty much just where we needed to be. Times everything by 1.2, that's your 20% increase, and then just fettle the little points here and there, and that would have been okay.
I think I agree with you. I think there were a couple of areas that we could have had a few different changes. Just the versatility and utility, particularly after our Psychic Awakening of the Caress now over the Kiss, makes it just, I think, worth a point or two more than the Kiss, essentially, is one thing that I would say. A couple of other things, but yeah, on the whole, guys, anyone who plays your Fusion Vote spam, you're safe. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
Inspired Fusion Votes are most definitely back in fashion.
Well, because a Harlequin with a Fusion Pistol and a Caress or Kiss, whichever you fancy, is now the same points as it was previously.
Exactly.
But actually, everything else has gone up, so it's technically a reduction in points for so if you're running that. So
yeah, that's the thing that I thought was just a missed opportunity. I am a bit like you. I'm a bit of a fanboy. I don't want to be negative. However, I do think things like this need to be addressed when they do come up. Things like it feels to me like someone hasn't actually read the codex with the points. Do you know what I mean?
It's like they just asked somebody to tweak a few points to make it higher. And I think there are two common indicators for this really for me. It's the thing that you say about the Kiss and the Caress, but more importantly, it's the Fusion Pistol and the Neurodisruptor.
Yeah, I don't know what that person. I just that's the point where I sort of went. Did you read the book? Did you actually read the book? Because if you think they're worth the same points, you're very sorely mistaken, my friend.
Yeah.
But,
so yeah, a little bit disappointing there, I think.
It was. I felt like it would have been an opportunity to see something a little bit different. Do you know what I mean? Like I would have kept the troops, the basic troops. Not that much more expensive, maybe 1 point more expensive, put them at 12 points, because quite honestly, what kind of output and survivability does a single Harlequin troop have?
Especially when you look at it. So points are purely for match play. Everything else in the rulebook is power levels. So points are specifically for match play. All the match play games are hold until you'll start your next turn into your command phase. And when you've got a troop that's got a toughness 3 and a 4-up invuln save, they just really struggle with that, and that doesn't show consideration to what the game is right now and what the unit is in that game.
And without the upgrades as well, I mean, honestly, yes, their 4 attacks fantastic. They have a good movement, but they're strength 3.
Yeah.
They're strength 3. They don't do anything, and their pistols are standard shuriken pistols, strength 4. Can potentially get some AEP, but usually just no minus, and we have no rerolls on that either, or access to rerolls to the shooting. So I just don't see them as worth 14 points personally.
No, and kind of go back to the missions as well, like where the missions are holding into the start of your turn. For me, narratively, that doesn't sit well with being a Harlequin player. Taking objectives off people, going up there and smashing face and taking people off the objective, so getting it at the end of my turn, kind of fits. But having to I'm just going to stay off the objective over here, doesn't feel like what a Harlequin should be doing in a game.
Yeah, they're going to be dancing in a circle. I don't know.
In fact, maybe it's completely narrative. They're not going to fight at all. They're just going to do the dance of death over there with nobody else watching.
Yeah, exactly. They become the hippies that they
Yeah.
were. Just start hoping no one shoots them. Yes. So, aside from a strange image in my head now, I think personally I would have gone the other way. Yeah, I would have kept the troops a little bit cheap. I would have actually made the weapons a little bit more expensive, personally. I think the Neuro Disruptor should be a point less, actually. I think the fusion pistol should be double the points of the Neuro Disruptor, simply because of its rules. I do think there should be more incentive to take things like kisses and embraces, just by keeping them at lower points levels than the caress.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it just. I mean, it was those, and we can sort of talk a little bit about equipment, all we want, and what we would have liked. But the biggest thing to any unit was the Void Weaver being 20 points more than Star Weaver.
Yeah. So Skyweaver stayed the same.
Yeah.
So Star Weaver stayed the same, and yeah, the Void Weaver all of a sudden become more expensive again. You're like, oh, if anything, it needed to be a little bit cheaper to make it worthwhile.
I'd make them the same points.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd make them the same points because a transport capacity of 6 has more use, has more utility than the prismatic cannon or the haywire cannon.
Yeah, because
You know?
you're paying for that cannon anyway, so that kind of offsets that anyway. So
Exactly. I think they should be the same, personally. I think really at end points, after the addition of the cannon, I think the cannon and transport capacity of 6 are about equivalent in terms of their utility. If you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, of course, you have to add more points to put something in, but the fact that you have that transport capacity is already actually quite a bonus. If you know what I mean. Like, whilst having just a cannon that just really doesn't do very much, there's no point. Do you see what I mean? There's very little reason now or incentive for us to take the Void Weaver, and that's. I mean, we didn't have much in 8th edition. It's a bit of a shame that it's just been left by the roadside. I almost feel at this point that they should just be saying, you know what, we only have Star Weavers now, and on that Star Weaver you can mount it with a prismatic cannon or a haywire cannon.
yeah,
Because it's kind of how it's going. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't seem worth it.
no, it really doesn't. It's just it's such a shame because I really want to play with them as well. I want to run a brigade, and I know, same. Yeah, same. It just becomes a tax at that point, really. And I don't want to be a taxer. I want to love every part of my army, and I want to enjoy playing every part of my army. I want to feel that every part of my army is worthwhile tanking, in the game wise and points wise as well. So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame that one.
One thing that I will say, though, is I do think that our characters have been priced correctly, particularly looking after Psychic Awakening and the power that we can get out of those. We've had a bit of a points increase. I mean, the Troop Master going up to 65, which honestly, who's complaining?
Yeah. Which is still 5 points cheaper than what it was when it was initially released as well.
Yeah, exactly. So he's still a fantastic take. I still think Shadow Seers are about right at 115 points as well.
Yeah, agreed.
They're very good, and particularly now with all the buffs that you can give everyone from Psychic Awakening, they're superb. Death Jester's going up to 50. I think, again, it's not off with when we're looking at all the points changes and we're looking at the roles that they can take now.
No. I agree. I think the Death Chester is really good now. Actually, at 50 points, I think it's a really good point. The only tricksy thing I found with the Death Chester now is that the Lookout Sir rule is in, and he has to be within 3 inches of something else, so he just doesn't get shot off the table. That's the tricky thing with him.
Yes, I think just looking at everything that we've seen, I think 4 to 5 Star Weavers filled with troops and 1 character, including the Death Jester, and then all the rest bites is probably what we're going to be seeing quite a lot of.
Yeah, I think Star Weavers is just worth their money now, especially troops inside. So when they blow up, the troops just get out and they sit on the objective that they're holding. Mm-hmm. It's not the game I want to play, but I think that's.
I know it's not.
Yeah, I think that's the way it is really. So
it is.
So I think Soaring Spike with loaded up Harlequins is actually probably the list at the minute, as I see it.
Yeah, it just seems to be what I mean. As I say, anyone who plays their Soaring Spite Fusion Pistol Spam, it probably isn't going to be changing very much. They might have to take away a boat.
Yeah,
That's about it. Maybe take away a couple of bikes if you don't want to take away the boat. But the rough points level that they've got at the moment has barely changed. Whilst my brigade is now unplayable, totally. The one that I wanted to take in 8th, and looking at how my troops are equipped, I'm sort of scratching my head going, do I just need to buy a new army? Honestly, it's I don't know if I could actually fit enough equipment to make them effective anymore at this point.
Yeah, I agree. It's I hope maybe we might get some changes, might be some FAQs or ratas for points and stuff to bring a little bit in line, because I think it's not just us really. You look at we probably got off lightly with the 3 flavours of elves.
Yes. Oh yes, definitely.
So you look at the craft worlds, etc., and they have the same problem. In fact, all 3 have the same problem in this game, is that we're not durable, and holding to the start of your command phase is really tough. Standfast, there are units within the craft worlds and Chikari that can do that.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be just loading up with that type of unit. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't. You want to be able to take everything in your codex, and it'd be useful to take.
Yeah, I think that's always, though, through every edition being a little bit of an issue, that there are certain units that you just know, you love them, you've painted them beautifully, you really want to use them, and then you look at them in terms of any kind of form of competitive playing, it's just not worth that, No. It's very unfortunate, particularly for those larger codexes that have so many options, but then they feel limited to one build, That was something that we saw across 8th edition, which was really nice, was seeing lots of different competitive builds with lots of different armies, and I really want to see more of that kind of variety in the game, rather than it kind of closing your avenues into different areas.
Yeah. It's really interesting you mentioned that, because actually at the end of 8th edition, Standfast Space Marines, which were probably needed a little bit of a rein in, actually I thought game balance wise it was pretty much there.
Yeah, they were not that bad. I thought there was some areas as well, like looking later on with how the Space Marines changed and the power that they were able to do purely through things like the rerolls. There's some subtle tweaks that you sort of went, okay, that's made them very effective.
Yeah.
Points efficient is the thing. But when you look at our access to those sort of things, we don't have the same level of points efficiency. Usually, unless we're in melee, actually, where we have the access to the full rerolls. That was always kind of our thing, but then it's very difficult for us to gain other areas in which we can really maximize our efficiency.
Yeah, and in fact, one thing I would need to compare actually is that my custodies, when I did a battle roll with those last week, and when I played them, we didn't know what the points were at the time, so we went for about 1750 each. When we then got the points, Andy's turned out to be 1950 something, and then my custodies were 1780. So they'd only gone up like 30 points. So actually, I was playing a bat rep 200 points down, and it's like, and actually, custodies, like just rules translation wise to this edition, are markedly better than they were before, and yet didn't get anywhere near as big a. Well, they got no hike at all, really.
Well, maybe that's what they're pushing for, It could be, you have to be a little bit cynical about these things. Obviously, GW is a business, they have to make their money somehow, and if they feel like custodians, for example, are not being bought enough, and, they've just spent so much money on producing them not that long ago, then they're probably going to say, well, you know what, we're going to make really good this edition.
Yeah.
Those golden boys.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because I guess you got to remember as well that these books probably take about a year, I guess, from like making to printing and actual distribution. So these points were probably done quite a while back now, and this is another thing I really think that I really hoped that they'd have done in 9th edition, and that was make points free and through a PDF. So actually, they can be just distributed quite quickly and easily, and do hot updates when required, and just have a living point system almost.
In the way that they do in AOS. would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because do you know what? It's probably make me spend more, to be honest. Because I'll be like, oh, this bit's better now because it's been rebalanced and I can get that. So
That's often been an issue, though, anyway, in terms of the way in which the codexes and everything have been part of the sales, but they don't drive the sales. You know, everyone buys one book, but how much more could you potentially sell if you made an updated online program? And we've had a few debacles with a few of the books over the years as well, with sometimes with other publishers, outside publishers, that are also not doing things the way that they were supposed to. And again, this is not meant to be us all just spend more ranting about GW. Actually, as I've said, I've worked for the company and I see what they do behind the scenes, and I know that you've spoken to several people as well from the company, and they do an amazing job. Just sometimes you look at things and just go, why? Or what was the thought process behind this? And that's just how I'm kind of feeling a little bit about both the points and the FAQ. Now that's our next point, is the FAQ. Not a huge amount of changes. Some things seemingly sold as changes that are not, as far as I can see, changes, which is very interesting. So yes, we can't move vertically anymore in the way that we could.
yeah, so initially when I read this, I thought, oh, this is a nice tidy up. It's quite eloquently done, and then I had the realization that, oh, we've lost the free vertical movement, and that it kind of upset me a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a game-changing rule, but thematically, it brings a huge amount. Like for me, it's somerset on Harlequins onto the top of building or off buildings and stuff. And now I've got
the thematic dancey elves. Come on, give us our dance back. Yeah, I know what you mean. But on the other hand, as you say, it's not massively game breaking. There are some, I think, going to be some very weird situations with this, though, in terms of they can move horizontally through models, terrain features. They cannot finish on a move on top of another model. So with all of our terrain rules that we've been seeing, the new ones as well, and some of the things that we would usually have stumped us, such as barricades or whatever else, we can acrobatically flip around them, even if we can't flip on top of them, which, again, it's, not get too bent up with it. But there could be some very interesting tactics, I think, that might come out of this, regarding moving to particular angles of terrain and then making sure that you can jump behind, so that obviously they're not able to then take advantage of the terrain set that's a barricade in front of them or whatever else it is,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's definitely still powerful.
Yeah, there's still something in it. I think I might write to the rules team on this one, because
we can do the same.
Yeah.
Right, that's it, guys. Any fans who agree with us, if we all write to GW, they can't ignore all 5 of us, can they? I think I'm going to as well. Just not as a complaint, but just as a kind of guys, I'm not sure what you were thinking with this, but this is how I see it.
Yeah, it could have been an honest mistake. To be fair, this is a huge rule set, and this is a lot of FAQs to be doing, and human error. Because I've spoken to the guys who write this stuff, and they all really care, and they all work really hard. They're good guys. They're hobbyists like we are, probably even more passionate than we are.
Passion is definitely the name of the game in our hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? It could be just a simple mistake. So if we politely tell them we think this might be a mistake.
I'd say politely being the operative word, guys. For everyone who wants to follow suit, not this whole pouty, we ruined our game.
Kit said.
Don't send them death threats. My goodness. But here's one that we were talking about just before we started, which I sort of went, why is this a change? The solitaire blitz. Yeah. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've got the book in front of me, and it says it's highlighted in blue. I've got the codex and I've got this, and word for word, it says change the first sentence to read once per battle in the codex, once per battle, comma. Grammar's important. Instead of making a normal move with the solitaire, comma, you can make a blitz move with it. What's changed? It's basically word for word the same thing.
We should have gone back and forth on each subpart of that sentence there. And
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. If you're reading one, yeah, we missed a trick there, guys.
Yeah, totally. But you know what? Yeah, there's nothing changing that. There isn't a bit of addendum under it as well. But again, that's not highlighted blue, and it doesn't seem to change much either.
No, but that's because it was the FAQ before, because people were advancing and then blitz moving their solitaires basically from one end of the long ways side of the table to the other.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, was probably not that fair, really.
And for the life of me, I can't remember whether there was. I'm pretty sure, and I think we discussed it before, that there was nothing noted on that sort of stuff in the previous FAQ either to change it back.
No, there was nothing changed to that one as far as I know. You guys can correct us if you're wrong in the comments. I'm sure you will. But yeah, I can't see any change there. One change that we do have, though, is the Dreaming Shadow Mask. It's a change, but it's not a change in some ways, because it effectively does the same thing. Yeah, you can lose no more than one model to any kind of morale-based thing, yeah? But essentially saying each time a combat attrition is taken for the unit with this form, it's automatically passed. Yeah, sure. Makes sense. You can lose one to morale.
Yeah. The Dark Angels have had the same wording, I think, for their rule as well, which is the same.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, before we always said, okay, they can never lose more than one. Now it's just they can still never lose more than one. Depending on how combat attrition does end up sort of changing the game, it could still be a very useful trait to have. Now, the only other real changes that I can see that they've highlighted are the ones to the Labyrinth Laughs rules text. So, immediately set up one Eldari unit from your army that has not yet been deployed from the webway, wholly within 3 inches of the webway gate and not within engagement range of any enemy units. Wasn't that pretty much the point of that stratagem for the webway?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. And then, but it says add the following. And I think this is just a slight rewording, which is units set up with the stratagem can be set up during the first battle round, regardless of any mission rules. And I think that's why they've done it, is because of the mission rules regarding reserves.
Interesting. So that wasn't there before, was it?
It wasn't in that form. It was regardless of the reserve rules or something, but it's just been modernized. It's been updated to include 9th edition speak, I guess. But it's the same sort of thing, really. Not that any of us ever take the webway gate anyway, so that's another thing, though. I mean, we had the fortifications thing, and it seemed like there might have been a push for that. It could have been nice to see more of those. Maybe in future we will, but it's still a bit expensive. So.
And for those 2 people that actually run it as well, it's actually gone up by 5 points.
Yeah.
I know.
You question what the point of it is. It's very beautiful. It's a wonderful terrain piece, but I just why would you take one as like in a competitive game? Why would you take one? Really. And it doesn't do anything, it just sits there.
Yeah.
It doesn't block line of sight. Toughness 8, 14 wounds, and you can put something in there which you can put into Deep Strike anyway. It saves you a CP. Is that what widget you're getting at?
Yeah, it's very pretty though. That's about
it. Is very pretty. I do need to buy one. I am buying one, definitely. It's the only thing in our codex that I don't have yet, which is insane, to be fair.
Yeah, so at what points value would you take one?
About 50, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd consider one at 50 points. If I had 50 points spare, and I was running a big blob of like 10 to 12 troop, or a unit of 6 jet bikes,
okay,
I would consider it just for that, exactly what you said before, with the fact that now we've got the survivability aspect. Yeah, so having it almost like as a big 14 wound toughness 8 transport.
Yeah.
Until it blows up and everything just jumps out anyway because you use the stratagem. It wouldn't be the worst.
No. Yeah, so I was thinking about 40. So yeah, so it's a bit of difference on you. 45. Let's make it that.
Yeah, 45 points. Go on, GW. 45 points. We'll take one. I'll buy one tomorrow if you drop it down to 45 points.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a promise. Hopefully they're listening. They're not listening. We've got like 400 subscribers. But yeah, one day maybe. So yeah, so we've covered the FAQ, we've covered the points. As a whole, you say you've had a couple of games now of Ninth, right?
Yes, yeah, I've played 2 games now.
But you've enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's got very much the feel of 8th edition, which is fantastic. It did feel quicker, and just all the little fringe case shenanigans have kind of gone as well, which I kind of like as well, which is good. I said before, I really want to get into the Crusade stuff and give that a whirl, because that was quite interesting.
I'm well up for that. All right, let's round it off with one last point. What do you think you're going to be running? What sort of list are you thinking of for the Harlequins in 9th edition now?
So I'm looking at troops in Skyweavers. Sorry, I always get mixed up. Starweavers. Troops in Starweavers. I'm looking at 5-man units of bikes, because I think 5 is the way to go, not 6. Although I don't think blast thing's going to be too much of an issue, but it's just the issues with having to maintain coherency. So just taking 5, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I really want to get Void Weavers in it, but I don't think I can do that. So I think I'm going to be taking the weapons off and just converting them back into Star Weavers, really. So yeah, Star Weavers with troops inside, a couple of Troop Masters, and a Shadow Seer, just for the shenanigans that guys can bring.
Okay, are you going to go for the Fusion Pistol spam loadout, or are you going to go for like less kitted out troops, or what are you thinking?
No, so I've never really liked playing that. So I take 2. I take 2 per unit. That's just kind of my go-to. Kisses is normally what I run, and all my guys are modelled kisses.
Yeah, this is my problem too.
I know, but I think the Crest is much better. But I just like the kisses. So if I play some Crusade games with it, my buddies will they'll be caresses that look like kisses. But people don't generally know anyway. As long as everything's modelled the same anyway. Everything's got a pointed thing in it. It's a caress. People don't really care.
Yeah. It's such an iconic weapon. I want it to come back. Bring back like the kiss in the big way. That would be good.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't need much, honestly. Just maybe even just at this point, maybe like an extra AP. But I would love them to remodel the very concept of what a kiss should do.
Yeah, well, even on like a 6 to wound, it does the flat 3 damage. You know, that is the mega blow that it's meant to be with the kiss, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're actually impaled with the thing, that's meant to be you over. I mean, I've got to say, what was it in the Dark Eldar novels where the demon that possessed, the old Archon? I can't remember it would have been before the Archons, one of the old ancient kings of the Drakari. I'm muddling up my names now, so I can't remember his name. But they bring him back to life to take on Vect, and then there's a demon of Slanesh that basically embodies him. And they kill it with a kiss.
Yeah.
They kill
that monofilament goes in there and just whips your insides into Whippy. Yeah.
Yeah. Just so it's meant to be a powerful weapon, guys. Even if we can spam them, then make us more expensive, but give us the tools to open that make it work.
Just give us a good kiss, Games Workshop.
Yeah. Yeah, go on, give us a kiss.
We're fed up of all that crossing, just give us a good kiss instead.
Yeah. Perfect. I do have a list that I've written. So you know what you were saying with your Custodes, that they've gone up by like 10 points? Well, according to 8th edition rules, mine is 1,777 points. So I have definitely taken a hit on my list in comparison to most, let's say, Fusion Bow players. But I don't play Fusion Pistols because they make me angry. Because every time I roll a 3 instead of a 4, like to wound, or a 2 instead of a 3 to hit, which is more likely, I get annoyed. So I've got 1 in my list still. What have I gone for? I've got 2 Shadow Seers and a Troop Master with a Fusion Pistol.
Yep.
I've gone for a unit of 5 troops with 3 Embraces because they're nice and cheap and doesn't have the points. 2 units of 5 with 3 Caresses, to happy slap everyone. And then a unit of 10. I have got a unit of 10 with 7 kisses. Because, as just like you, I've modelled them with kisses, so I'm going to run them as kisses. Before they're all in transports, now I'm just going, well, the only effective way that I can think of to run them is in a big blob coming out of the webway with the Troop Master re-rolling the charge auras and then just murder something.
Yeah.
Or Twilight Pathways them up and just make them into the biggest distraction card effects that you can imagine.
Yeah.
2 DJs, a Solitaire, and then, 15 bikes. 2 with Star Bolus and everyone else with Zephyr Graves and Haywire Cannons, and then 3 Star Weavers. So that's what I'm thinking. It's partly just the models that I've got, partly, the things that I kind of want to play, and I'm still refuse to play Fusion Spec. So I'm just not doing it. I'll wait until the next Codex and just admit that I don't have the most powerful army at the moment.
Yeah. It's nothing like setting yourself a bit of a challenge, though, hey?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I definitely haven't been challenged enough over the 8th edition playing Harlequins throughout. Just need a bit more. But I'm considering at some point getting the Encore in that.
I think the Incar's nice. Just he's that distraction card effects, isn't he?
He's wonderful. Yeah,
very much.
He's such a beautiful model.
Yeah, and aesthetically, it kind of looks very similar to it's got that Harlequin-esque feel to it as well.
Exactly. It's what I'm thinking of, actually, because I've almost painted everything else. I'm almost thinking of trying that first, because then I have to paint one model instead of all 10 troops. So we'll see. But yeah, I think it would be. He's definitely got game, and he's expensive, but actually at this point, with everything else kind of going up in price, he feels worth his points at this point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He feels like he has the value.
Yeah.
And he can do his heroic intervention trick again.
Can he? I missed that.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. I don't no, have a look again.
Okay, yeah, I will.
From what I saw, they haven't put it in. I need to have a look at the FAQ again, but I don't think they put it in that he can't heroically intervene.
Interesting. I think that's good if that's the case, because it's a real shame that he couldn't do that.
They can be attacked now. Yeah, they can be attacked now if they heroically intervene. It's fair.
I think so.
I'd say. Yeah. Why wouldn't you want some blazing comet half god popping up out of nowhere and attacking?
Popping out your dead mates. Bob's just died. What's happening? This guy comes charging into you.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. I will love you and leave you all, because I think that's all we've got time for today. Wes, thank you so much for coming on again. It's always a pleasure to have you. We'll see you all next month with the next Encore, and until then, I'm hoping to get my very first 9th edition battle report up for you very, very soon. Wes, thank you very much. Guys, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again.
Bye-bye.
All right.